Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park. I'm Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. We have a full quorum with council members Clay, Karn, Allen, and Gay. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next item is our invocation, done by Chaplain Alexander this evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I greet you and hope everybody is doing well. May we pray, please. We come tonight, Father, in your name. We come together once again, assembling in this chamber to conduct the business of this city. We come tonight, Father, for praying for our city, the city of College Park, our state, and we continue to pray for this nation as a whole. I come tonight praying, Father, for wisdom and unity, that it may be upon this governing body and all the employees and upon all the citizens. I pray tonight, Father, for our first responders, the law enforcement, and for our firefighters, and for all the city personnel, that they may return home safely each night. Father, I continue to pray, Father, for our city leaders and our staff as they go through tonight's agenda, that wisdom will be bestowed upon them, compassion will be bestowed upon them, and understanding on each one of them as they conduct and make the right decision concerning this city. In the mighty name of Jesus, we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Item number 2 is additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda. I have one addition of a proclamation recognizing Older Americans Month. Are there additions, or additional additions, or any deletions?
I think we need to get the name correct.
That's right. So is there a motion to add that proclamation to the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman
Second.
Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Karn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. I believe that was unanimous. Item 3A is approval of the regular session minutes from April 18th. Is there a motion to approve those?
I move to approve as presented.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Councilman Allen. I believe there was one portion where my name was misspelled, and I believe Ms. Ames has caught that. But all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilman Gay?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so that is unanimous as well. Item 3B is approval of the workshop session minutes from April 18th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Approve as presented.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Karn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. We are on to proclamations, resolutions, plaques, and announcements. Item 4A is introduction of new employees by our Director of Human Resources and Risk Management, Ms. Christa Gilbert. We need to get up. We need to say hello to them, right? Come on, let's go.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Evening.
Okay. Good evening. We would like to introduce the new employees. When I call your name, if you would stand, and once we're done with calling all the names, we're going to ask you to come down front and take a photo. Keandre Davis, Fire Department. Israel McCrary, Fire Department. Horatio Reed, Fire Department. Derico Sanders, Fire Department. Jonathan Betts, Engineering. DeAnthony Davis, Fire. Melissa Lamore Grant, Convention Center. Rokisha Johnson, Fire. Jarrell Penniman, Fire. Devon Johnson, Police. Kyle Sims, Power. Welcome to the City of College Park. Next, we have the Employee of the Month. So each month, we introduce a new employee. So this month, we have Mr. Philip Latona, a finance.
While Phil is coming, Phil handles all of the property tax for the City of College Park. You will hear us around College Park offices call him Dr. Phil. He is a Dr. Phil of property tax, and what was submitted on his application was he handles his job with grace. Never hear him angry, never hear him upset. Does a fantastic job. So hands off, Phil. We also have a photo for you.
Thank you.
One for your office and one for home.
Come back here and take a picture.
You gotta get in front of everybody now.
Don't cash that till Friday.
Tilt it down just a little bit. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Here we go. One more time. We're good.
So we've got 3 proclamations this evening. The first one is recognizing National Public Works Week. Yay! The last time we were here, we were talking about municipal drinking water, but now we are talking about the entire department because this city does not run without the Public Works Department. Let me go ahead and read it. Whereas American Public Works Association announces Ready and Resilient as the theme for the National Public Works Week celebrated May 15th through the 21st. And whereas public works professionals are always ready to serve their communities and as resilient as ever in their abilities to pick themselves off the ground after encountering challenges. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are federally mandated first responders, engineers, managers, and employees at all levels. And whereas it is in the public's interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and the children of the City of College Park to gain knowledge and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works first responders and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2022 marks the 62nd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, join us in celebrating these public servants who make our communities great places to live and work. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park, we do hereby recognize National Public Works Week, celebrated May 15th through the 21st, proclaimed this second day of May, 2022.
Come over, just, yeah, that's fine. Hang on just a minute. Okay, here we go. One more time. We're good.
We just finished celebrating Georgia Cities Week, and that was headed up by our magnificent clerk's office. And now we are celebrating Municipal Clerks Week from May 1st through May 7th. Yay! Come on, clerk's office! Whereas the office of the Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, serving as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas the office of the Municipal Clerk is the oldest amongst public servants, providing that professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of rendering equal service to all, striving to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the Municipal Clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, local, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas the week recognizes Municipal City Clerk Shavela Ames and her team, the Office of the City Clerk staff Belinda Wilder, Braylon Buckner, Janice Spady, Renita Reeves, and Derek Johnson for the services they perform and their dedication to the communities they serve. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park recognize May 1st through May 7th as Municipal Clerks Week, proclaimed the second day of May 2022. Ms. Ames, let me just ask you a question, because you know, people do open records requests a lot. But how many has your office processed, open records requests, in the last year?
With the assistance of the other departments, over 1,000.
We have a small but mighty team. We have a small but mighty team, and they do a great job, and we are grateful for their efforts.
Step back just a little bit to the step. There we go. One more time. Okay.
those of you for whom our workshop and council meetings are must-see TV, you will recognize that at our last workshop session, we had AARP here to talk about how we can become a more age-friendly community. So one of the things that Ms. Kay Sabetta, who came from AARP, let us know is that May is Older Americans Month, and so we wanted the opportunity to commemorate that as well. It's your month. No, I'm just kidding. It's everybody's month. Whereas the City of College Park includes a growing number of older Americans who contribute their strength, wisdom, and experience to our community, and whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are welcomed, included, and supported, and whereas the City of College Park recognizes our need to create a community that provides the services and supports older Americans need to thrive and live independently for as long as possible, and whereas the College Park community can work to build an even better community for our older residents by planning programs that encourage independence, ensuring activities are responsive to individual needs and preferences, and increasing access to services that support aging in place. And whereas we encourage every resident to recognize the contributions of our older citizens, help to create an inclusive society, and join efforts to support older Americans' choices about how they age in their communities. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park, Georgia, do hereby recognize the month of May as Older Americans Month, proclaimed the second day of May, 2022. So for those folks who, yeah, but who's gonna, you know what?
Just over.
18 and older.
That's it.
That's it.
I guess the question is older than what?
I always tell my grandkids, older than dirt.
In my next life is gonna. All right, we are on to remarks of citizens. Ms. Ames, can you let everyone know what the ground rules are for the remarks of citizens?
Yes, ma'am. So the rules for remarks of citizens during council meetings. 1, speakers must limit their remarks to no more than 3 minutes. 2, speakers must not employ tactics of intimidation, profanity, or threats of violence in their comments. Anyone who demonstrates these behaviors will not have their comments read into the record. A specific topic may not be discussed during citizen remarks for more than 15 minutes. Members of the public who have signed in the sign-in sheet may donate time to another speaker. However, in no event shall the total duration of time allotted to one speaker, including donated time, exceed 9 minutes. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am.
The first comment is from David Block to discuss general/job posting. And he also has donated time from Wayne Hood, donated time from P. Edwards, I believe donated time from Gene Robinson. It doesn't say for who. Yeah, okay.
Oh.
Donated time from Tia, and donated time from Jamil McKenzie. So he'll have a total of 9 minutes with the discretion of
Right.
guys.
Okay.
It's 9 minutes.
Just tell me when to start.
Whenever you start talking, I'll start the timer.
Okay, greetings, Mayor and Council. I'm going to have to speak faster and a little bit louder than I normally do, but when I came to work here, I was 20-something, and now I'm 60-something. I hope that in lieu of that, my time won't be cut short. Councilman Clay, I remember sitting in your office trying to convince you to run again. One of the things I told you is that when it comes to public service, you never get to say you've done enough. I'm glad that you're up there, and I like to hope that you listen to my words. Councilman Karn, if you get tired of me saying, I'm glad you're back, I apologize, but I'm glad you're back. You're filling a much-needed void. Mayor, all due respect. Councilman Allen, It's unfortunate, but a lot of people on Godby Road do not vote. Maybe we could change that, but I think that you know that you got at least one vote from Godby Road, and I think you know where that came from. I'd like to thank you for your support and friendship. Councilman Gay, I wouldn't be standing up here if it wasn't for you. And during one of the low points in my life, you were there with words of support and advice. Now, you can be a little bit rough around the edges at some times, but I think that's what the people of your ward love about you. And I think as long as you run, you'll be victorious. Thank you, sir, for your support. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank one other person who's in the room. Councilman White, if you're in here, you've pulled my feet out of the fire before, and I would like to thank you for your support. All right, now on to what I'm here to speak for. You'll see that there's a number of College Park's finest in here. They're here to show their support for the chief, not necessarily for what I have to say. I asked some of them to be here. Some of them just showed up on their own. All right, when I came to work here in 1989, at the age of 20-something, out there in the world of the metro Atlanta area, there was a little girl. She was 9 years old. She was in 4th grade. Her name was Sharis McCrary. I wouldn't meet her for another 12 years. I would be a lieutenant in charge of recruiting, testing, and personnel selection. It was at that time that I would meet her, and I knew as soon as I met her that she would be hired, and I've watched her grow and thrive. At the police department, there's a picture of all the former chiefs up on the wall. I think there's about 16 of them, and I've worked for half of them, some of them twice. Now, in the past 33 years, every time that a chief has retired or been removed from office, they've always given the job of interim chief to the deputy chief. Last year in 2021, that didn't happen. I don't know why it didn't happen. It could have been something personal. Maybe there was a reason that I don't know about. And we brought back Tom Kuznacki, someone who had been out of law enforcement for 10 years. Tom and I worked together closely for over 20 years. I have much respect for the man, but I'm not sure why that job wasn't given to our deputy chief. So after he left 6 months later, she was given the job, and she's done an excellent job, even though she was told that she would probably never be chief or that she doesn't command respect. Now, when it comes to commanding respect, I know of only one being that can command respect. Maybe the chaplains could back me up on that one. But the only way you get respect is by earning it, and she's earned the respect of College Park's finest, those ladies and gentlemen who are standing behind me. So I would like to say that she's well qualified for that position. I know that she recently graduated from college. She's in command college. A lot of people mistake her for being too sweet, but they get confused. The sweetness is kindness, and there can never be too much of that in one of our leaders. You know, she has a brain that would make the scarecrow envious. She's no cowardly lion. She served for many years on our SWAT team, and the Tin Man could only wish that he had a heart that big. So I think we have our next chosen chief sitting here behind me, and I would like to make a motion that we call off this search, this nationwide search, because I think we already have a pretty good chief. And if there's anyone who would second that motion, I'd like for you to stand up. Are there any questions? What's the time, Shabela?
You have 3 minutes left.
Well, I guess I don't need any extra time. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and God bless you. Thank you.
Next, I have Tracy Wyatt to discuss general.
Greetings. Don't worry, Councilman Clay, it ain't going over 3 minutes. I wasn't gonna say anything about, didn't know the police was doing that, but I would encourage y'all to read an article in last Thursday, AJC, where it talked about the chiefs, hiring the chief in the Atlanta Police Department, and then 5 of their last 6 chiefs came from within, and the head of the public safety said that there was no need for a search because their next chief is already in their midst. But it's a good article. I hope you will read it. But that's not why I came up here. First of all, thank y'all for your debate. I'm really contemplating, Corn, y'all be far apart, but I think the debate is great, and I think it always brings us to a good conclusion. So I just like the way y'all deliberate on debate on the budget and things like that. I want to say that we got very creative in spending millions of dollars for a bridge at 6 West so bicycles can go over. I hope we can get that creative and finding some money for Kid Fest and other festivals in this city for the citizens to enjoy. That's what I say. The other thing I come up with, I'm going to specifically ask my councilman from Ward 3 that as a citizen, I find it very insulting that a citizen can only have 1 minute to speak if they don't come and sign up. So I'm asking you to support changing that 1 minute to 3 minutes like everybody else get.
We'll be talking about that this afternoon, later on tonight. Yeah.
Thank you.
Next is Rex Willis to discuss general.
Mayor and Council, congratulations, Councilman Carn, my brother. Congratulations, Councilman Gay. You really represent Ward 4, okay? So congratulations. I got 2 topics, so I got to speak fast. Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Manager, for giving the police officers what I and several others were pushing for, and well deserved, the public safety and the police officers. So I'm glad you all gave them that 20% raise. I got to say something what David was saying earlier, very brief. David, Charles been here almost 21 years, which I lived in the city for 43. I really care deeply about public safety. I remember when David, first day he came on, it was a death call right in front of my house. Someone had died right on the corner. So I remember David very well. David and I are the same age. And so I remember, David, when you came on. And I think highly of you coming up speaking. Like you said, we're not trying to tell the city manager or anyone else how to do their job. But I can tell you this. You've been here 2 or 3 months. I know you're very well qualified that you wouldn't be here. But we know the deputy chief, interim chief right now, McCrary. Please consider, and that's all we asking, not demanding or anything else. Consider the chief. She's well qualified. She cares about the community. She knows the community. She knows the people. She knows the officers. And I said to you on, I think, 2 occasions that no one can do their job if they don't have the tools to do it. You gave them the raise. I think you gave them the police cars they need. So give her a chance. What is going to hurt giving her a chance to do her job? If she can't do it in a year, like you do anything else, like you can't, they're going to move, you're going to move on, they're going to move on. That's why voting is so important. I work hard as hell to help Councilor Corn to get in. And look at 4 months, what done changed, it done made the difference. Look at it. World of difference. Ken Allen, same thing. I supported him. And look at the difference since he's been on there. He take a lot of backlash when he vote certain ways. But he's a good man. He stand up for what is right. And I appreciate that, Ken. Councilman Clay, you know you have supported us at times you didn't. But when you called on Sabrina and I, we was there. And you know that. So all I'm asking, support the, Chief McCurry. It's well deserving. So that's all I'm considering, just asking. So, and I think that's what other people and these other officers are saying. Nobody coming here trying to say rough or say you should, just what you better do or should do. But I hope you do really consider. And, okay, I got 3 more minutes. Sabrina gonna donate her time. She next on the list. So I got 3 more minutes. So the next topic, I'm through with that. I'm finished with that. Really what I came to speak for about is the recreation department. So I'm gonna get on a lighter note. We took 64 kids down to Augusta. We had 100 kids and 37 on the team and 31 favor fee. That's 4 and 5-year-olds. So it was directly 320 families we impacted with the father, grandparents, and up to 500. And we took one of the most down there in Augusta, 64 kids. Out of those 64 kids, I don't know exactly the numbers, but we won several relays, several gold medals, several silver medals, several bronze medals. But what they said when they called it City of College Park favor, not favor, City of College Park. Sabrina and I have represented the city over 20 years. People come here and say, oh, I was here 10, 12 years ago. I didn't see what evidence anyone else did, but I can tell you what we have been doing. We have been impacting during COVID, with the police department, with the fire department, which my son works, because we're about giving back, with the public works department, all during COVID, because I know they work hard and was in need. But I just want people to understand, if you want people to respect you and look at what favor is doing, look at it. I ain't got to get up here every day and talk about it. We are doing the work over 20 years. Even though obstacles came up and tried to push us back, we still maintain and doing what we've been doing. Because why? It's about the kids. It's about this community. We love this community. We raised 8 kids in this community. And all my kids that came back and have given back to the city like we've been doing, no matter what said or happened. So, Michelle, with your department, they work hard as I don't know what down there in Augusta, feeding those kids, get those kids taken care of. So I'm so proud of your department. Tanya, Kirkland, Brian. So thank you so much for allowing Sabrina and I to give back of our time, our love, and passion. We had 6 kids, grandkids, on the track team. 2 of them got medals. So it's a passion for us, and we appreciate it. I want more people to give back. Get up and vote. If you want to make a difference, get off your end and vote. And if you want change, get up and vote. That's what we do, been doing over 40-some years. So thank you all. Thanks all the people who made these young ladies, young men, with the track program be successful this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Ames?
I have one last comment that was emailed in. And it reads, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Betsy Wiley. My family and I reside in Ward 3 on Virginia Avenue. Like others in the community, I hold safety concerns about the speed of traffic and frequency of accidents on Virginia Avenue. The following are accidents that I'm aware of on Virginia Avenue within the last year and a half. Unfortunately, I suspect this is not an exhaustive list. January 2021, accident at Virginia and Lee. June 2021, an accident occurred at the entrance to the historic cemetery, which resulted in the loss of one of the entrance signs. Weekend of July 4th, 2021, a police chase involving multiple precincts in pursuit of a vehicle ended with an accident at Howell Slade. August 2021, a vehicle overturned into a tree by the MARTA underpass at Howell Slade. September 2021, a vehicle hit and took out the power pole at Virginia and Lee. February and March 2022, 2 accidents within 2 weeks at Virginia and Lee. April 2022, accident at Virginia and Lee. In the last 3 of the above incidents, police, The fire department, tow trucks, and ambulances were involved. These are serious incidents that demand action. The intersection of Virginia and Lee has a number of challenges. Speed is first and foremost a concern, and I believe the posted speed limit of 40 miles per hour on this stretch of Virginia needs to be lowered. Other challenges include difficult sight lines for those heading south on Lee, middle turn lanes which are used not to turn but instead to overtake other drivers, caution lights on Virginia which can cause confusion, and pedestrian crosswalks are ignored by drivers as people cross. I'm the parent of 2 young children. My family has experienced cars running through the crosswalk even as we are actively crossing. The confusion and design at this intersection has caused multiple accidents. My worry is that someone is going to be gravely injured or killed if something is not done. I have been in contact with Councilman Allen, and I appreciate his responsiveness and efforts to bring attention to this. I'm aware that he has expressed concern to council and contacted the city manager. Tonight, I'm asking that the city council and city manager urgently create a plan to address Virginia Avenue, specifically Virginia/Lee intersection. I'm requesting that the city consider the following. 1, I request that the city urgently add a 4-way stop sign or traffic stoplights at the Virginia Avenue Lee Street intersection. 2, reduce the speed limit on Virginia Avenue to no more than 35 miles per hour. 3, enforce the speed limit with police patrols and speed checks. 4, continue to have police. I have no other comments.
All right, if there's anyone who did not sign up and wishes to speak for 1 minute, they can do so at this time.
I signed up, I gave him my time to block. However, he did not use it. So I can still have a minute. Are you shaking your hand for a raise? Is there a reason shaking your head?
He had about 3 minutes left, so.
Yeah, he still had time left. So I would like to, basically, what I'm here today, I want to greet you, Councilman Clay, Karn, Mayor Motley Broom, Councilman Allen, Councilman Gay, our city manager, and all others. My name is Jamel McKenzie, and I live at 2447 Odell Way. I'm standing here today, I know that there's been a lot said already, but I'm standing here just to speak on the character of Charis McCrary. I've known Charis since 2016, when I first came to the College Park Police Department. I was assigned to her, she was a lieutenant at that time, and I was assigned to her, and we worked together to create the chaplaincy program for the city of College Park. At that time, she was also the leader for our community policing department. Our chief of police at that time was really big on community, 20th century community policing. And what I can say about Charis McCrary is that she has impeccable integrity. She's a godly person, which means that she has morals. She has values. She's fair. And of course, yes, she does come across as a very kind person, but she knows how to put her foot down. Now, I have served as the Director of Chaplaincy for the City of College Park Police Department for 4 chiefs of police in the past 6 years. So we've had quite a bit of turnover, and I've seen what our officers have gone through. And I was going to be quiet, but I had to say something, because as chaplains, our responsibility is to care for our officers. And so we're there during their tough times. And we've experienced quite a bit of tough times over these past few years. And then COVID added on to it. The different riots, the Black Lives Movement, which I'm not against, but that created a lot of chaos even within our policing. And I've watched these officers, and they've weathered the storm. They've stood tall. And there have been times when there's been controversy. But I can definitely say that these past few months that Charis has served as our interim chief of police, we have been seeing things that are being done in a fair manner. She's a fair person. And you see the department gelling together. I'm not getting the complaints. We're not having the issues that we were having before. And again, I know that there's a search going on. I know that this is not necessarily a decision that the citizens make. It's not even a decision that I can make as a chaplain. But I do pray that when we make the decision, that we totally consider what we have right now, the jewel we have, the direction that this department is moving in, which is a very positive one, let's not try to reinvent the wheel. Let's just let the wheel roll, and let's see where we get to, because I do believe that the end of this road will be one that will cause prosperity in this city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who did not sign up who wishes to speak for 1 minute?
Go. Okay. I have no inside connection with the cops. I love cops. I've dated
I'm
a
sorry,
bunch
can you
of
state
them.
your name for the
I
record?
understand them. No, look, wait.
Ms. Blackstone,
Where
go ahead.
am I in my minute?
Go ahead
No,
and say
I didn't start your name because I didn't get your
goodness,
name.
Good. Oh, I apologize. I thought you knew who I was.
I don't.
Everybody knows her.
My name is Ginger
Thank you.
Blackstone, 1928 Walker Avenue, College Park.
Okay.
I apologize.
You're fine.
I was just fired.
Go ahead.
Grew up here. I don't have an inside track. I came back. Kids are grown, blah, blah, blah. I was here when we had our first officer, when Mayor Owen Smith hired our first black officers, Creflo Dollar's daddy and big old Booker, who was just this monstrously strong, sweet man. I only know Acting Chief McCrary from interacting with her over the last decade that I've been here. She's a sweetheart, but she's nobody's fool. She is tough and strong and kind, and she knows her stuff. She knows what she's doing. She can't be pushed around. She is not full of herself. She looks out for our community. I don't have any connection with our officers. I've not had but maybe one officer in 10 years that I wanted to belt.
Thank you, Ms. Blackstone.
But
thank you. Appreciate your time.
She's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Larry Brady Evans. I reside at 2112 West Princeton Avenue, College Park, Georgia. I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. I concur with everything that I've heard tonight in all areas of College Park. I congratulate you, Councilman Gay, as well as you, Kern, for being reelected, for being sworn in over the weekend. But I like to say to the police officers, I remember when each and every one of y'all came here. I've been here that long. And as the singer's song says, a change is gonna come. It's been a long time coming, but a change is gonna come. And I hope and pray that this change is for us all, for Ward 1, 2, 3, and 4, and all the citizens of College Park, where we all reap the benefit to say to the world, when you come to College Park, you come into a place that set an example to the world, because we sit on a jewel, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, people from all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Peyton Willis. I am a youth leader for No Child Hungry for Global Youth Service Day. Global Youth Service Day is an annual celebration of young volunteers around the world. My team and I made 100 bags filled with snacks, water, hygiene items. We had so much fun delivering backpacks to the parks, downtown neighborhoods, and visiting vendors at the Spin the City event. I have been volunteering in serving College Park since I was 3.
Thank you. Thank you. Nope. Does anyone else wish to speak for 1 minute? Seeing none. We appreciate it, Ms. Blackstone, but thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on. We do not have any public hearings tonight. We'll move on to item 7A, which is other business. Consideration of an action on a request for approval on the financing terms of the lease to purchase 3 pieces of equipment for the golf course through Truist Bank in the amount of $173,640.35. Ms. Flord Bradley is here to answer any questions. We'll start with Councilman Clay.
No, I have no questions.
Councilman Carn?
No questions. It looks okay. Just curious, what was, I know we saw this come up a couple of times, and boy, those packets, we wasted a whole lot of trees on those. Boy, I was like, geez, this is a lot of information. What was the delay? I was just curious. What do we have to get straightened out? Because I know it came to us a couple of times before.
It was the pricing of the equipment.
Okay. So we got a better price, cheaper price, or?
It's less, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds good.
Councilman Allen?
No, I have any questions. I think it's long overdue.
Councilman Gay?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Item 7B is consideration of an action on a request for approval to purchase 3 Toro grounds maintenance products to adequately maintain the historic College Park Golf Course grounds.
I move to approve since
I
we
second.
already approved the funding.
I second.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous as well. Thank you. And Ms. Flora Bradley, don't go anywhere yet. Items 7C and 7D are discussion update on the top 10 delinquent utility customer accounts and delinquent property taxpayers. Any questions for Ms. Flora Bradley on either of those items?
I got my answers on the delinquent taxes. I had a couple questions on the utilities, though. We have 2 organizations that are about to be cut off from trash pickup, right?
Correct.
And the one thing I didn't understand in the response was that we can't cut off the power, we can't cut off the water, because it's the trash that they owe on. But these places use power and water, do they not, from City of College Park?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Well, I would have to double check on the power.
Pardon?
I would have to double check on the power because not all
I know that, and I assume, though, that at least the water they're getting from College Park.
I would have to confirm.
Okay, let me ask a different question then. If they do get that from College Park, both power and water, how can we selectively say that the only thing that they owe is trash pickup? In other words, when I pay my utility bill, I don't write 3 different checks and say, well, this is for power, this is for water, and this is for trash pickup.
I would have to review how it's billed because they could receive just a power bill and they could receive just a water bill separately. So I would have to see exactly how they're being billed because if it's just sanitation outstanding, they haven't paid the sanitation portion because normally they would have to pay the entire bill if they're billed collectively. They couldn't pay a portion where we would say that we would apply it to only power or vice versa.
Okay. So in any event, the answer that I got was that they are not going to have their trash picked up anymore.
Yes, they would be notified by the sanitation department that they will stop.
They've already been notified.
Well, if they don't make a payment before a certain time, I don't know how much time the sanitation department has given them, then they will not, they will pick up their actual bin from what I understand.
Well, they've been on the list for quite some time at this point. This is not the first time I believe that they're overdue. So the other question I have is, we have, if you're going to have trash pickup in College Park, you have to use the city's trash pickup. Is that correct?
I will defer that question to Melissa.
If that's not the case, it's changed, but.
Yeah, that's what it used to be.
Nothing
Yeah.
has changed that I'm aware of.
Okay, well, we were driving the other day, and I won't mention the business, but I saw a blue container pickup truck pull in to a business establishment. And I questioned that. It didn't look like it was one of our trucks. I don't know if we have any trucks that are blue.
No, we do not.
So I'm just confirming that if you're in the city of College Park, you must use the city of College Park services.
Yeah.
So presumably, if we cut off the trash to these establishments that we were just talking about, they cannot go out and get trash pickup from someone else.
No, but then in that case, you would need someone to be able to track that. So maybe a code enforcement officer. I know where I came from, for instance, that is one of the things that they had added to sanitation services, is have someone to look out for things like that. I mean, because we wouldn't know not unless we see them or catch them doing so.
Well, I trust that your two departments will work together.
We do, but
When
work
when
well.
they get cut off,
But we would have to probably come up with some type of better SOP for it, and then definitely tracking probably the license plate and the companies themselves, and probably issue citations to them.
I suggest you guys look into that.
And Ambrose, that has happened before a lot of times throughout the city, actually. I've seen it where there are a lot of go-arounds to that. And Melissa, I guess one worry I do have about this is this. You know, you cut off of commercial businesses, sanitation, because they're not paying sanitation. Now, how does that all play out, I guess, in a sense? And City Attorney, I know, you're just guest appearing here with us, but maybe something even to bring back to Winston. So obviously there's going to be an issue there. If they are following the rules, the trash should be piling up. Would that make logical sense? Okay. And if the trash is piling up, obviously it's going to be some health concerns, I would imagine, as well, that code enforcement would come in on. I guess sanitation is one of the bills. Obviously, we want everyone paying all of them, but so when that happens, I just wonder in terms of where does code enforcement come in and how long can they not pay their bill until there's a health safety problem that may impose, well, hey, we're going to have to shut you down if you don't have sanitation service, or maybe that's a component of an ordinance we need to look at, perhaps. The other thing, going back to the go-arounds, I've seen outfits that don't pay their trash bill, and they will order a 20-yarder, a 30-yarder, and sit it out there and make it look as if it's building materials and it's indeed trash going in there. I've seen that happen in the commercial business. I see that happen very often over the years in apartment complexes in particular, where it's trash. So just stuff to keep aware of. I guess one way you can track it is if you have delinquent sanitation, then you know those are the ones that are more likely to obviously get a bootleg operation going and hauling the trash some other kind of way. So just something to look at. And I guess that the list of who's not paying, that might be your first clue. So, yeah, just y'all need to stay on top of that.
Any other questions?
I just had one quick question. You know, if we cut off sanitation to an apartment or a business that has a container, do we remove the container from the premises?
Yes, and usually at that time, I work together with code, and that's when they'll issue a citation. So we kind of work in conjunction with code. In that case, usually they'll come and pay. But I see we have two new people here that we need to kind of deal with, and here the date is 5/3, which is tomorrow.
Yeah, that was my next question is what happens if it gets thrown on the street? Do we just go pick it up for them?
Well, no, the apartment complex is required to maintain that sanitation kind of and garbage pickup. So when they don't, that's when the citation comes in.
Or if they throw it on the ground, I guess the
Correct.
health department.
They have nowhere to dump it, the trash, so yes.
Okay, I just didn't know about the containers. Thank you.
And Councilman Clay, for clarity, we only service sanitation for those two areas that you're referring to. We do not provide power or water services.
We do not provide power or water, so it's
Correct.
just sanitation.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
well, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Floyd Bradley on either of those top 10 lists?
No.
Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7E, Health Insurance Plan Renewal Presentation on Employee Benefits Insurance Broker Services to include workers' compensation by NFP Corporate Services Vice President Tammy Starkey. I believe Ms. Gilbert is introducing her.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I would like to introduce our broker from NFP. She's the Senior Vice President, and her name is Tammy Starkey.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here this evening to review the employee benefit plans that are coming up for renewal July 1st of 2022. If you'll recall, this last July, we did move the health plan, made changes to the health plan, and moved that to Humana. The savings there was almost $600,000 in premium savings. Part of that was removal of all commission from plan, but also through the marketing and negotiation efforts to save the city and employees. With that change, we were also able to expand the network availability to employees, which had been voiced as a concern of having more accessibility to their local providers and not being limited to Kaiser facilities for their care, for primary care, pediatrician, and their regular office visits. So with that, we did again conduct a full marketing analysis. So all viable carriers that are able to provide health insurance for the city were requested to submit a proposal of what options they would be able to provide and what that premium associated would be. So the renewal from Humana, our current incumbent carrier, is an 11% increase, which equates to about $414,000 in increased total billed premium. So that would include the city's contribution and all employee contributions. Kaiser has submitted a proposal that is a 1.5% savings from our current premiums, and they would also grant a premium holiday, meaning that there would be 1 month that the city would not remit premium. So total projected savings for the plan year is approximately $367,000. United Healthcare proposed a 17.5% increase, so about $646,000 over our current cost. Aetna provided a proposal that is 6.2% above current cost at a $234,000 increase. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield was uncompetitive with a proposal of a 33% increase, and then Cigna was uncompetitive and declined to submit a proposal. So when we look at the claims experience and we monitor the claims experience and share that with the city on a monthly basis, what drives the renewal and drives the proposals from the market is our experience on the plan. So we're currently at 111% loss ratio, and so that means when we compare premium to claims paid out, Humana has paid out 111% compared to the premium, so 11% more than they have collected in premium. They're also looking at prognosis on some of the large claims and what they expect the risk to be on the plan, the expense to be on the plan in the next 12 months. And so that drives our 11%, which is capped based off of our negotiations when we placed the coverage with Humana in July of last year. So with that, we see all carriers did consider that experience. We do have our two plans just to kind of compare there. We've got our HMO and our POS plan. With Kaiser, we had an HMO and a PPO plan. The purpose of the PPO was to, again, provide that expanded network. But with Kaiser, we had only 19% of employees that elected that coverage because it is much more expensive in that model with the PPO. With the POS plan with Humana now, which is considered the buy-up option, we have 33% of employees that have elected that. So really driving that need, that request for an expanded network, since the POS is expanded, offers more providers, and also offers the members the opportunity to go out of network and still have a benefit. So as we look at the options, there overall the plan designs match, some slight differences with the Kaiser plan. And when we look at network availability, we took the top 50 doctors and local facilities that the members on your plan are utilizing, and that is a 95% match of the top utilized providers with Aetna. It is a 0% match with Kaiser. So that is again indicating that members would have to go back to the Kaiser facilities for their regular physician services. When we look at the top hospitals that are being utilized on your plan, Aetna is again a 95% match, and Kaiser is a 70% match. So members would lose access to some of the hospital systems that they are currently utilizing as well. So the recommendation is to move the medical coverage to Aetna to be able to retain that network flexibility and availability that the employees and their dependents have been able to enjoy over the last year, and be able to continue to see their own doctors and not go back into the Kaiser facility. So it is a cost difference to the city. It's that increase of about $230,000 if the city absorbs that. But looking at that and discussing that with the team here at the city, the indication is that is the best ability to retain employees, to recruit employees in the current staffing environment, that the benefit package is such an important part of their total compensation, and the value of that network makes up the difference in the premium savings.
Thank you, Ms. Starkey. We'll start with questions. Councilman Clay?
Yeah, I presume that Krista sent you the questions that I asked, and I saw some of the answers. I guess I sort of saw all the answers, but it was pretty late. Let me just clarify one thing that you just said. The Aetna would be a greater cost to the employees than if we stayed with Humana. I know it's, let me take that one first. If we would go with Aetna, it's going to be less than if we stay with Humana for the city's cost, correct? Humana wants to rate, would require, what was it?
11%.
11%, right?
Right.
Humana was Aetna was 6.5%, as I recall.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the cost to the city. What was the cost to the employees?
Right, so if we assume the same percentage contribution from the city, which on the HMO plan is currently 90% of the single cost, then the employees would see the same difference increase. So the city would absorb 11%, the employees would see an 11%
Okay,
increase.
11 and 11.
Yes.
Now, if we go with Aetna, what's the deal?
So I modeled a couple options for the team that there could be an increase on the HMO plan of 3% to the employees, and then 12% on the POS, because there is a differential in what's contributed on these plans, and the cost to the city would be a $210,000 increase. If there's no increase to the employees, then the city absorbs the entire $234,000.
Okay, if there's no increase, they'd still be paying what they're paying now.
They'd pay what they're paying now.
They would not, we would be getting a 6.5% plus another 230 or whatever you just said.
Right, so
Correct?
the difference, well, it's a difference of $23,000 between the city passing on the increase at the same contribution percentage versus the city absorbing the increase to the employees is a difference of $23,000.
Only 23,000.
That's correct.
So it's essentially the same.
Yeah.
Essentially the same.
Because the city has such a large contribution, you all absorb the majority of it anyway.
Okay. I've always been against jerking the employees around, is what I call it. You get used to certain doctors, and then to have to switch to different doctors is a problem. So I was I think I was not in favor of going to Kaiser at the time, and I was not in favor of coming off Kaiser at the time for that same logic. Now, from what I've seen from the information you guys have provided, the employees are a lot happier with the doctors that they have currently from Humana than they were with the doctors that they had from Kaiser. Is that a...
That's the feedback that
That's
the
the
HR
feedback
department
we've
has
gotten,
received,
right?
yes, with the survey.
And if we stay with Humana or we go with Aetna, they can still keep the same doctors.
Yes.
But the cost to the city is $600,000 or so, as I recall, over Aetna, and it's even more with if you had stayed with Humana. Why would, since we're already running 111%, so the insurance company is actually losing money on us, correct?
They are currently.
Okay. So why would some other insurance company come along and pick it up with only a 6.5% increase? Or better yet, why would another insurance come along and pick it up at a decrease?
Right, yeah. So Aetna is currently looking to partner with more city and county governments. That's what my operation focuses on. We work with city and county governments across Georgia. So Aetna has a big focus on building membership and long-term partnerships there. And so that is the goal in their proposal with the city, is to first come in as competitive as they can to earn your business, but then looking to invest in that business long term. And so they have put a performance guarantee in place, meaning that service, all the timeliness of claim payments, they're putting their premium at risk if they don't meet those metrics. And we've also asked them to put in a renewal guarantee, just as we had with Humana, so that we know they're not buying the business and come in next year and give us a 20% increase. So that is part of the proposal.
So why would Kaiser come along and actually cut the cost? Are they just that more efficient?
I think they like to think they are sometimes, but we actually saw claims on a per employee basis improve in the last 6 months that we've been with Humana, meaning that we have more employees enrolled on the plan, so more have seen the benefit of the coverage, but our average cost per claim is lower. So, to me, and I've had that conversation with Humana in the renewal, is that shows there's not a big cost difference in the model of how that care is delivered.
So, basically, you're saying we should expect an increase. We think that Aetna is not just buying the business, at least not more than 2 years worth of business. And Kaiser thinks that they can do a lot better, but the people have not been as happy with Kaiser, I know.
Yeah, with the limitation, and then also at the facilities, the feedback we've also had is that there's a lot of turnover in providers, so it's difficult to establish a relationship even with a Kaiser provider.
At Kaiser?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, on packet page 669, where you compare Humana, Aetna, and Aetna.
Yes.
There are 4 columns there. You got an HMO, a POS, an EPO, and a POS. And down at the bottom of the 2 rightmost columns, you have some numbers in red. What does the numbers in red mean?
Yes, great question. So both options here are exhibiting the same plan design, so it's actually both HMOs. That last 2 columns there are the package discount with Aetna if they receive the dental coverage. So they would give the medical premium a 2% discount if you move the dental plan to Aetna, which is worth about $80,000. So that's where we're showing here, and they're in red just because underwriting hasn't finalized the actual premium. But it is that $80,000 difference there.
But the dental plan is actually going to cost the employee more if you move
No,
it.
Aetna matched Cigna's renewal, So they're coming in matching the renewal. The network is a really great match, and the plan designs are the same. There's actually one enhancement on the PPO where it'll pay for preventive services at a higher rate. So we looked at again, just as we did on the medical, the top utilized providers in both plans to ensure that there was no disruption there. The reimbursements for out-of-network coverage are also higher with Aetna, meaning that there's less balanced billing to patients.
Okay, and my last question, on that same chart on the left-hand side at the bottom, where you talk about rates per plan, or by plan.
Yes.
And you say low 142, high 67 for employee, a single employee. What does low and high mean? And why is low higher than high?
I had the same question.
Great. So low is currently the HMO plan, and that is just the less expensive option for employees. And high is the POS plan, which is the buy-up option. So what the numbers that are shown below there are the current enrollment by plan. So we do have more employees that have elected the HMO plan.
So it's a number of people.
Yes.
Thank you. I got my answers.
Councilman Carn?
Thank you. Tell me your name again.
Tammy Starkey.
Ms. Starkey. A lot of the questions that Ambrose had, there's still a lot of mystery in this. And I've sat through a lot of broker presentations and outfits that come here, which is one of the reasons why. You're recommending Aetna or Humana?
The recommendation is Aetna.
Okay, where is Aetna at?
So we typically, and we discuss this with the city's team, that we don't invite the sales reps because we come and present as an unbiased consultant. Since we are not receiving any commissions, any reimbursement from the carriers, we present the options to the city and make recommendations from the response of the city's team.
Well, I specifically asked that the three that are in consideration, Aetna, Humana, and Kaiser, be here. Because I've sat through and dealt with enough brokers to know you can get the answers that you need and the detail that you need with these outfits being here. Krista, we talked, I asked that they be here for this very reason when we have these type of detailed questions, because there is some mystery in here as to why Aetna's offering what they're offering in Kaiser or whatever have you. Yes, we're taking a loss and all of that. So these outfits just said they weren't interested in coming when it comes to this type of a bid contract, because I did ask that they be here. And I also asked that anything north of that number we all concluded was significant enough to require those outfits to be here when we have questions when we're talking about this type of money. So did they just say we're not interested, Krista, or what?
Council member, at the point where for this particular one, we did not have time to invite them. Today is Monday, we had that conversation on Friday. And so I take responsibility for that.
Okay, well, I guess all it takes is a phone call. If Friday's too late, okay, but we knew the numbers were north of, this is significant money. And again, there's a lot of mystery in this, and I'm sure you're a great broker, but I want to talk directly to the folks we're going to be giving this contract to. I'm an advocate for employees, just like he is and just like the rest of us are. But there's a lot more to it when getting to the bottom of something when we have the questions that we ask, and we're not just going to ask for no reason, but I want to hear from the three outfits.
Councilman, what are your questions? Because you haven't asked a question yet, so if
I have asked questions. The first one was, where are the three outfits that I asked to be here when we're spending this type of money? I did ask a question, and I got an answer to. If I can finish, please. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Councilman, I believe it was not the consensus of the body that.
No, it was, because you asked for a consensus.
That it was,
And
I
you
don't
said,
believe
"Is
it
that the
was the
will of the
consensus
body?"
of the body to actually have all the brokers here. I do believe.
No, of course not.
Both Councilman Allen and Councilman Clay said that wasn't necessary, as I recall. So,
Okay, well,
if there are questions that you
I
have of
understand
Ms.
that.
Starkey, please
I
go ahead and
understand
ask
that.
them in regard to
If I can
these
finish my
proposals.
sentence, please. Thank you. I understand if Councilman Clay and Councilman Allen didn't find it necessary. Well, there are other council members up here. I did find it necessary, and I would like them here so I can make a thorough, comprehensive decision in terms of the best way to spend our money. And I don't think that's too much to ask. And it's fine if everyone doesn't want to hear from them, but I do. And I think my voice is just as important as anyone that may not think it's necessary.
Do you have any questions of Ms. Starkey?
City Manager, I would like to hear from the outfits. How pressing is this? Does this have to be done now? Can it be done at the next meeting? Because I would like to hear from the outfits who we're going to commit to in terms of health care for everybody. And I don't think that's too much to ask at all. It's people's health.
Council
So-
member, I will do the will of the council. In this particular instance, we pay a broker.
I get
so
that.
I'm just giving you my perspective.
right.
In this instance, we pay a broker.
Okay, my question was, is this pressing where if we don't do this week, can we do it at the next council meeting without losing something? That's my question to you.
Ms. Starkey, do we need to move forward on this?
I'm asking the city manager, excuse me,
I
I'm asking a
understand, I
question.
understand, but Ms. Starkey is actually the broker.
Ma-
So
ma-
Ms.
ma-
Starkey,
excuse
Ms.
me, I have
Starkey,
the
I have a
floor.
question for you.
I believe I have the
Do we need
floor
to move forward
still.
on this at this time?
We do, if
excuse
at all
me.
possible, to meet open enrollment and payroll deadlines.
Thank you.
I believe I still have the floor.
And council member, in answering your question, I would absolutely have turned to Ms. Starkey and said, Ms. Starkey, what is the urgency?
Ms. Starkey, what's the urgency?
She just answered that.
Yes, so to meet our deadlines for open enrollment, to allow employees the opportunity to review their options, to make changes to their benefits, and then in turn have payroll deductions in time, we would need to move forward.
So 2 weeks, all that goes out the window, is that what you're saying?
Yes, it would push our open enrollment into,
Well, this body sets open enrollment, do they not?
well, our renewal is July, so we have a time period of when payroll deductions need to be made before the
Understood.
effective date.
Okay, that sounds like to me this could wait 2 weeks to get the answers to the questions we want to get answered.
What are the questions you want answered?
Again, I would like to hear from the providers.
What are the questions?
Mayor, I'm not talking to you, I'm asking, I'm not answering your questions. I'm speaking to her, and I'm speaking to the city manager. If I'm
Councilman,
speaking
I
to
would-
you, I'll ask you a question.
Councilman, I would ask that you direct questions to them instead of just saying, we want to talk to the
And
people.
I would ask if you let me finish my thought. Thank you very much.
And I would also ask if
If
there
I
are
can
any
fin-
other outbursts, that folks be removed. We do not take comments from the gallery after public comment is concluded.
Can we make a motion to just table this to the next,
I would
to the
simply
next
like to
meeting?
table it if it's not gonna,
And just take a vote up or down?
gonna be a disaster. That's all I'm
Can we
asking.
just make a motion that is tailored to the next meeting?
I would make a motion to table it so I can get a better understanding
I second.
from the actual
Okay.
brokers.
All right. There's a motion to table on the floor,
Okay, discussion.
and there's been a second. Go ahead, Councilman Clay.
Very simple question. If we delay it 2 weeks to the next meeting, how will it impact the dates going forward? Will we be able, when do we enroll now? I mean, when do we start the new plan?
So the new plan starts July 1st, and we're set to have open enrollments June 6th through June 8th. So the lead time there, having another meeting in 2 weeks, would not allow us to be prepared for open enrollment with communications, online enrollment system, the enrollment counselors. It would also delay when payroll would be provided, so that would mean employees would have to be double deducted for their first paycheck. And it would also mean that employees would not have their ID card in hand for their health plan July 1st.
So that's what happens if we delay it beyond tonight.
That's correct.
Okay. I
I've
guess
got-
that's all,
I've got
that's all I
enough
needed to know.
information and questions answered to make a decision. So I've had all my questions answered earlier, so.
And you're telling me if we wait 2 weeks, you can't expedite that process so that we can make July? You can't do that?
Unfortunately, we can't. We're limited by software expectations on the time to build, as well as the carrier in implementing the plan, so making sure plan designs are implemented correctly, all benefit information for each employee independent, and then the delivery of ID
Okay, so
cards.
you cannot do that?
No.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
There's been a motion to table. All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
And I am not in favor of tabling as well. That motion fails.
I have a question about the PPOs. So if we move to Aetna, well, first off, when y'all came to us, it sounded as if you were promising us that the rates would not increase. But in fact, the rates have increased. But the point is that, what is the difference in the PPO, what is the difference between the point of service for Aetna and the point of service for Kaiser? What is the difference in providers and in costs?
Okay, that's a great question. So in providers, it's likely going to be very similar, but in cost, you'll see as well as similar. But that means that there's going to be a greater increase to the employees. So as I mentioned earlier, when we had Kaiser before, because the HMO plan is so much more affordable, we had 81% of employees on the HMO plan. So that's where we focus on the disruption in the network, is because 81% of employees take the HMO because it is the affordable option.
So I'm just asking a question. Did you all negotiate with Kaiser to lower the PPO plan since the providers are the same?
Right, so we have negotiated with all carriers very heavily over the last few weeks, including Humana, the incumbent.
Any other questions?
So the savings with some of this other outfit, okay, we're over in terms of claims, I get that. $414,000 in terms of an increase. Kaiser, negative $367,000 in savings, which technically going by yours would be $700,000 difference, $700,000 or so difference, or close to seven. Is that right?
Between Humana and Kaiser, it's a $781,000 difference.
This is why I wanted to hear from these outfits. That's a big potential savings. I hear from some of the employees, and I'm sure the survey said what it said. Yes, folks like the plan. Only one issue with that. Employees that I've talked to who were actually sick and really in some situations said that it was less money spent with Kaiser for things like mammograms and things that came with their packages that did not come with this one. Now, I don't know how much of that is true or false or whatever from the 3 employees that I talked to. Again, that's why I wanted to have them here to ask some questions. So $700,000+ is a big difference in savings. That's why I wanted to take another look at it and hear from the outfits.
Right, and the difference between Aetna, the recommendation, and Kaiser is $600,000, just to clarify.
All right.
Would you like me to speak on the difference in benefits for the mammogram example?
I'd like to hear from these outfits. Again, I would really like to hear from these outfits. That's what I'd like.
Ms. Starkey, can you speak on the difference in the mammograms?
Yes, so with all players, a mammogram that is considered preventive. So once I'm 40 years old, and that's required because of my age, and then every year after that, will be covered 100%. There's no cost share for the patient. And then for any diagnostic mammogram, so potentially a follow-up after that preventive annual mammogram, would be subject to the deductible. And that cost can differ based off of the facility where they receive the mammogram. So that's where our team comes into play to really be an advocate for patients, that our enrollment counselors and our benefit advisors provide employees with those cost differences if they go to a hospital setting, if they go to an outpatient radiology setting, so that they're able to make their benefit dollars go further and save an out-of-pocket expense.
Let me ask you a question. say my wife is 4 months pregnant, and we change to Kaiser, would she have to go to a different doctor in July?
Yes, at 4 months pregnant. Typically,
No, 4 months now. That means that she would be about
By then,
7
yeah.
or 8 months then.
so
She would have to
typically-
change doctors.
Typically, when you're in your third trimester, a carrier will allow what they call continuity of care for you to continue with your current provider. I would need to just confirm that with Kaiser, but all the other carriers would allow that.
Or if I had a heart condition, I would have to change doctors with Kaiser
Yes,
because those doctors are not provided. I couldn't use the same doctor. Okay.
correct.
And in terms of, because I'm assuming we're voting on this, you mentioned diagnostics situations. My understanding was to get a diagnostic visit, there's a charge for that. And my understanding was that Kaiser, under one of the plans or whatever have you, there was not a charge for stuff like that.
What type of diagnostic visit?
I'm not sure exactly which type it was, and I don't know all of the medical lingo. But again, there were some differences in terms of satisfaction, yes, but folks that are having serious issues, it was a whole nother proposition in terms of who we select, I guess.
Right.
And that was, those were some of my concerns.
Okay.
And
So the benefits between Aetna and Kaiser and I'll compare the HMO plan since 80% of employees would select that HMO plan, are the same. Meaning office visit copays would be the same cost, deductibles are the same, co-insurance and out-of-pocket maximums are the same. The only difference comes into play with prescription drugs, where there's a slight difference in copay. But overall, medical services have the same benefit. But again, when it comes to deductible, the cost can differ based off of that physician's charge or that facility charge.
Right. Well, the folks that have serious issues or pre-existing conditions or stuff like that, sometimes they don't pick the HMOs because they know they need something a little more robust.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my concern for those folks that actually, whether, is this the best option for them per se? Now,
Right.
obviously, we can't cover everybody. It's not a la carte for everybody. I mean, you got HMO and POS or whatever have you. And is it still PPOs or?
Well,
we used to have a bunch of them. But
When we compare the POS with Aetna to the PPO with Kaiser, the Aetna plan is actually a better plan because it has lower office visit copays. With Aetna, a primary care physician is $25. With Kaiser, it's $45 for an office visit. A specialist with Aetna is $40, and with Kaiser is $55. So there is a differential there. And then with urgent care on the POS, with Aetna, it is a $50 copay, and with Kaiser, it's a $90 copay.
so sounds like from you being the broker that Aetna's the better choice any way you slice it.
Well, we want to propose what's best for the city. We understand that there is a savings with Kaiser, and so you have to evaluate that against, the need or the desire from employees for the expanded network. So there is a trade-off there between the two, and again, we are unbiased in this. We bring all options to the table and consult with you all on what are the goals for your benefit package for the employees.
My final comment is that this city has enjoyed, at least since I've been on council, a great relationship with Kaiser, and you all were brought in and you told us that the city wanted options, and so we changed providers. Now, I took my physical in East Point. I had to go to Upper Riverdale to take my, so I went to like 3 different places under Humana. So my question is, now tonight, for $600,000 more dollars, you want us to change our providers again to Aetna. So my question is, why not just take the $600,000 and negotiate with Kaiser to give us a lower PPO? That would it sound like you like Kaiser on one hand, but it's a higher premium for the point of service. Then that way we don't got to keep changing doctors. Because it sounds like now we got Humana doctors are not Aetna doctors.
Yes.
They are?
It covers 95%.
95%?
Yes.
Yes, they're a greater match to the providers that your members are using than Humana is currently.
And Kaiser doctors on the Kaiser point of service, we can go to the same doctors at Humana and Aetna under Kaiser's PPS, right? PPS.
Well, so we evaluated the HMO since that would be the affordable option, and we're 80% of the employees enrolled, and it's a 0% match on the HMO.
Well, I don't know. Do we need a vote? Are we voting tonight?
Any other questions for Ms. Starkey? I actually have a question for Ms. Gilbert. Since it is your, in your daily course of engagement with our employees, what has been your opportunity to get feedback in terms of the level of satisfaction between what employees had and what they're experiencing now with Humana, and what has the sense been in your world?
The majority of the employees have come to me discussing it. They appreciate the ability to go to their own to the doctors of their choice, and not to a Kaiser facility. I've had more people complain about going to Kaiser than I have going to Humana. So for the most part, I have people who just really like going to their own doctors.
All right.
Krista,
Yes,
one
sir.
other question. Does Kaiser or the third outfit for that matter, have a plan that allows folks to go to the doctors of their choice?
Does Kaiser have that?
Does Kaiser or the third option have a option plan that allows employees to go to a doctor of their choice?
Kaiser, no.
They do not.
You are in.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Right.
They don't have a plan that allows employees to go to a doctor of their choice. Is that right, Mrs. Broker?
The PPO does offer an expanded network, but again, that's
what I thought.
That's the more expensive option, that if we did full replacement with that, it would be less competitive than Humana or Aetna.
Understood. But that's the employee's choice. Is that right?
Yes, and they had the choice in the past, and 81% of them chose the HMO because of the cost difference.
Right. So even with this outfit that we're with now, from my understanding, they came to us with a particular rate that sounded like a great deal, and then at some point, that rate was jacked up a bit. I mean, was that kind of a, I guess it sounded to me like it amounted to some kind of a teaser rate, more or less.
Well, I wouldn't agree with that, because we did negotiate that rate cap in the beginning based off of the experience on the plan. So at the 11%, it is a very competitive renewal with 111% loss ratio. So again, meaning that they've paid out 11% more than they've received in premiums. They also have to account for their overhead, the cost of operating the plan, and healthcare trends as they project what it's going to cost to operate the plan or pay claims in the future. So overall, medical trend is about 7%, meaning that if we had the exact same claims this year, what are they going to cost next year, just because of the rising cost of healthcare? And then prescription drugs factored into that are more like 12%. So even if we ran well, all carriers are going to factor in that claims are going to cost more in the future, and I need to increase premiums to fund that.
Any other questions for Ms. Gilbert or Ms. Starkey?
I just have one question. To that last point you just said, Kaiser actually did not raise their premium for years, even with our rate increase. So I want to correct you on that.
Okay.
I make a motion, we go with Aetna.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstentions?
Extension.
The vote passes with Council Members Allen and Clay in favor, Councilman Carn against, and Councilman Gay abstaining.
I have a question, Mayor. I thought the abstention is like a no vote. So if I have voted no, then what is that, 2-2?
Abstention is treated as a yes vote.
It is, I don't, so I would like to change my vote.
The abstention is treated like you basically aren't here.
Not here.
Oh,
You're not here, so.
I want to vote no.
It's actually treated
To the
as a
record,
yes vote.
clerk, can you change my vote to no?
Got it.
So we have 2 against, 2 in favor. I vote in favor. The motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Starkey. Thank you, Ms. Gilbert.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a request for vehicle replacements in fire administration.
Motion to approve.
Thank you,
Second.
Councilman Gay. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. The next item up on the agenda is acceptance of a community development block grant for Conley Center improvements in the amount of, it's slightly different than what is in the agenda. Ms. Johnson, what is the amount?
The corrected amount, which they sent over for the award letter and the contract this evening, was $223,229. They listed as 00.
Is there a match for this?
No match for
I move
this
to
money.
approve.
I second. And,
Okay, Councilman Clay has moved to approve. Councilman Carn has seconded. Discussion?
Discussion. Have a discussion.
Go ahead.
Is there, when you ask for a match, is that the same as saying, did we have to come up with 10?
Yeah, there is no match for the city on this money. We do not have to put any money up for this money.
Yeah, I would like to take credit for that, okay?
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
You know, you see these things pass across, you know, I saw these things pass across in Fulton County, and we would vote on them and approve them, but it's funny looking at a letter here with folks that you went to high school with like 35 years ago. It's like something, I don't know. I guess you live long enough, you see just about anything, so, yeah. That's good news.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is discussion regarding the public comment section of the agenda.
This one.
Madam Mayor, it says city manager, but I'm gonna ask Councilmember Carn, to lead us in both of these items which were added. I added on Councilmember Carn's behalf.
Okay, Councilman Carn?
Well, it's just not a whole lot to this, obviously. I think it's a no-brainer. My proposal was to bring back up public comments to 3 minutes for everyone. And anyone that went over that time, if a council member wanted to hear more, you should be able to hear more. Pretty simple, cut and dry. So, I guess that was about it.
Any additional discussion?
Yeah, we've been operating under the current rules that we've had tonight, and I know some people don't like the 1 minute aspect. The feedback that Chavela got, you requested input on this, correct, from various cities and from the county. And when I looked at that, there are some cities that only allow 2 minutes. There are virtually a large number of those cities in there were a 30-minute limit on the total time, which we have.
Correct.
And gosh, we seem to be one of the more generous in allowing public comment than most. So the concern I have is that, and let me say it really bothered me. Now this is just a personal note. It really bothered me at the last council meeting when Sabrina came up and talked about her son, because I knew about her son's achievement. And I really would have, I was eager to say, yeah, give her more time, because she was very emotional, and it was a very important event for her. And I didn't do that. because I was trying to not talk out of both sides of my mouth, and I've said that I think we need to keep the time to what it is. So I appreciate the need or the desire to allow more time, but when we design these things, we have to design them for everyone that comes forward. And if we leave it open and say, well, people can talk until, well, Councilman Carn said the other night, I think, that Fulton County had the issue where they had, 5 hours, I think you said, Joe, one night? Now, I noticed they must have changed that since you were off, because I noticed in the summary that Chevala got, they limited, I think, to 30 minutes, and then you can come back at the other session that they had. So they probably reacted to that. If we relax those rules, you end up with somebody that comes to council without good intentions that literally could take over the meeting for a long period of time. And I just don't, I think we're trying to fix something that's ain't broke, so to speak. You can date, the only thing that's in debate perhaps that might be changeable is the 1 minute limit. But my feeling is, if somebody wants to speak for 3 minutes, we would like them to have thought about what they're speaking about. And so if somebody comes in and hasn't taken the time to think about it, and then you're into the situation where they could go rambling on and rambling on. I appreciate the 1 minute. I think originally we designed the 1 minute such that if somebody said something during public comment and that made you think of it and you said, oh, no, oh Lord, no, I don't agree with that at all, well, you can come back in 1 minute and say, hey, no, I don't agree at all with that. Now, maybe that should be 3 minutes. To Ken's point, I know Ken has Councilman Allen has an issue with that. So it may be necessary to do that as a rebuttal, but I certainly wouldn't change it for more than 30 minutes. I wouldn't, there are some places that don't even allow people to give their time to other people. So you're limited to 3 minutes, and in our rules, you're no more than 3 people speaking on the same topic for 3 minutes. Otherwise, you could have the whole 30 minutes of people coming up one after another. You could have the audience filled with 30 people. And where I am on this, we're up here to make decisions for the overall community, and particularly, yes, for the ward we represent, but we should be considering the whole community. And the people have a chance when they elect us to say, the majority of us like the way you think, or they don't like the way you think. But when it comes to a specific issue, we are the ones who spend all the time, God knows I do, researching the information, digging into it, thinking about the consequences. And so if somebody has some issue that the only time they ever come to council meeting is when they've got an issue on this specific point, and they come to council meeting and they think, well, we'll bring 40 people and we'll overpower the whole electorate. Well, I'm sorry, they paid me to do that. And if I'm not going to be swayed by just one group of people that comes in and says, well, we're going to overpower everybody else because there are more of us and we can speak louder at this one meeting. And that's the difference between a true democracy and a democratic republic. And people may be mad at me for saying that, but I think we have to be careful because most of the people that come up here have goodwill. But there will be some, and we've seen it over the years. Lord knows I've seen it over the years where people come up and they don't have necessarily goodwill, and they try to take over the meeting, just as Councilman Carn was saying happened. I don't know what the issue was, but at a Fulton County meeting. So I think we have to be very careful about loosening up our restrictions, even though sometimes, like when Sabrina came up last time, it killed me to not say, yeah, agree with Ken and agree with, I think it was Joe that said, yeah, give her the extra time. That's all I have to say.
Let me just say that probably I've gotten up 10 times in front of this council when I was not on council and talked, and not one time did I sign in. It's something that has come up, something that I heard someone say, something that I heard someone criticize, and I felt like I needed to get up and say something. And more than not, it took over a minute. So my recommendation would be 3 minutes. And if you come in late, you still have a 3 minute, but then you set a time, like 30 or 40 minutes max for comments. And, you know, because people come in, we had 2 little girls come up and talk. I thought it was great that they came up and talked. I mean, that took a lot for 2 kids to come up in front of council and talk. I thought it was great. But they didn't plan on talking when they came in, but they got up and talked. So I think 3 minutes and 3 minutes, but set a time limit of like 30 minutes or 40 minutes, but have the cutoff at 3 minutes. 3 minutes cutoff, 3 minutes cutoff. Everybody should be able to say what they say in 3 minutes. You can, you know, designate your time if you sign up.
But not more than 3 people designating their time. Under the
That's
current
right.
rules,
Not
makes
more than
sense.
3
you can't
people.
talk more than 9 minutes.
That's
And
right.
Ken, one thing I will say, and I agree with you on that.
I just don't want to, I just would not, we got to have a time limit, because if we don't, somebody's going to get up there and be just like a filibuster, and they'll just go on and on and on.
Point taken, absolutely. You know, I agree with you, Ken. I go along with that. But, you know, everyone can't get their thoughts together as quickly as others. And I'm going to say that again so that I really hope people understand what I'm saying here. You know what I love about this city? I'm going to tell you what I really love about this city. The diversity. You know, I mean, we all got some great residents here in this city. And we got some great residents with great personalities in this city. We got some great council members with a lot of different personalities in this city. And it's commensurate of the public, you know, I mean, in one sense or another. For one, I love to hear from residents, good, bad. I've read the riot act up here. Folks have lined up and read me up and down, been cursed at and everything else. That's part of the job. We serve the public. And do I mind the public taking over a meeting? No. Because at the end of the day, it's their meeting. Yes, we want to maintain some order and some decorum in the whole nine. You know, but if someone goes over 3 minutes, I don't want the officer over here grabbing somebody off the microphone. No, I don't want that. And it's people that just have a piece to speak. You know, when you talk about elected officials, you know how most elected officials get elected? 2 things happen. They get pretty pissed off about something going on, and then they get curious. That's how most people end up in office. They get upset about a zoning issue or something like that, and then they get curious. And they say, well, who put you in charge anyway? And they get curious, and the next thing you know, they're in office. That's how our former mayor ended up here. He said it was some kind of community issue, and he didn't think it was right. You know, so the most important thing for human beings is the need to be heard and listened to. That is the most important thing in any human relationship, is the need to be heard, respected, and listened to, right or wrong. That's more important than anything. I'm a husband, I know. I got 3 kids, I know. And again, I say that's the most important part of this meeting. I'm not a restrictive type of person. I don't want to restrict the residents' ability to do things. We've been in a restrictive couple of years. We're coming out of COVID, and I'm glad of it. But my feeling is, you know, hey, we may still be partially masked, but the public's not going to be muzzled up here. I want them to speak their piece. and I want them to have as much latitude as possible within reason. I'm okay with 3 minutes. If someone goes a little bit over 3 minutes, if there is a consensus that we want to hear a little more, and we just use some common sense from there. That doesn't mean 5 minutes more, 10 minutes more, but let's use some common sense on there. And I think we can manage that between the 5 of us. So I'm okay with the 3 minutes. And what else did you say with that, Ken?
I'll make a motion that we have 3 minutes. If you sign up, if you decide to get up and talk, you have 3 minutes. But we have a total time that can be designated would be 9 minutes, and a total time for citizens' comments, 35 minutes.
I would agree with that if there is a consensus to hear, let's just say up to 2 minutes more, a consensus. Would everybody be okay with that?
I just think if you got to set it at 3 minutes, you set it at 3 minutes, and you hold
3.
everybody to it, and whether you sign up, whether you don't, because a lot of people think about it when they get here, and you hold them to it at 3 minutes.
So are we suggesting that you don't have a sign-up process?
I don't think we need a sign-up process either.
That's
They
what
come
you
up here and
just
they
said.
state their name and address, and, again, you don't want to regulate folks into intimidating them for coming up here and speaking. Coming up here speaking is very intimidating. And the more barriers we put in place is not necessarily necessary, and it's not necessarily a good thing.
And
Well,
I'm not
you're gonna-
advocating that, I was
We
looking
got
for
video of
clarity.
it, we got audio, so we know we would have known who came up here and spoke and said their name and address. So
You're going to sign up to make sure that you get, if you sign up, if you don't sign up and there's 15 people sign up, you're not going to get a chance to say anything because we're not going to get to the second 3 minutes. We're going to have 35 minutes of people talking if they talk the whole time. So by signing up, you make sure that you get heard.
Councilman Allen, may I make a suggestion that since we're looking at 3-minute increments, that you go to 36?
What was that again?
That if we're looking at 3-minute increments, that you go to 36 minutes?
Okay, that's
We
fine.
don't exceed-
36 minutes.
3 minutes increments.
I also think it might be nice if we limited ourselves at the very end to 3 minutes.
Well, I wouldn't agree to that.
That is a revolutionary concept. I think the idea that we would have consensus amongst the body to extend comments just reeks of a problem that would open us up to questions of, well, we want to keep on hearing things that we like, and if someone comes up and says, you guys are doing a terrible job and each one of you is not worth a thing,
Amen.
then we say, nope, okay, you're good at 3 minutes. So I think it is much for consistency's sake to make sure that everyone has the same expectations. 3 minutes across the board. No, nothing beyond 36 minutes.
I'll
Keeps it
go
simple.
along with that.
I'll go along with that. I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Councilman Carn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next item is discussion of dangerous dogs.
That too is a addition.
Well, I just wanted to, since I've been back, I know there have been some issues with, where's Mike? Come on down, Mike. One of the things I've noticed, before I got back in, since, our apartment communities, there are a lot of young folks in our apartments. When I say young folks, 25, 30 years old, whatever. And, they got the great big dogs, and that's a thing going on. And some of them have many puppy mills going on. And I hear from our apartment managers complaining and saying, I really don't like so-and-so coming in with this great big dog tearing up the furniture, ruining the carpet, scratching up the walls, whatever have you, and they leave, and the apartment's a mess or whatever have you. I know we got this ordinance in place. I just want to figure out, this is another tool that we can use, but I never really felt like we had fully maximized it in a sense. You know, not that all the dangerous dogs are in apartment communities only. I'm sure they're everywhere. But I want to just see how we can tighten things up and let our managers in particular know, which is the majority of where our residents reside, that of the options. A lot of them weren't aware of it, and I thought it'd be good to make some visits and let them know, hey, here's another tool in terms of managing your complex that you need to be aware of that might help you get things a little better into shape along the lines of what you're looking for on your property. So I guess that's where it's coming from. And Mike, I know you've been here for a good long time with us, and it seems like you just don't age, man. You just the same thing every year, man. Goodness. I guess I'd like to see, you know, us taking into the spring here and talking to these managers and letting them know, explaining it to them in layman's terms what they can do, and how they can, you know, if the dogs are supposed to have this and if they're supposed to have that and whatever have you, and just where they can use that as a tool to keep things together in the apartments, because it makes, usually it's not a great thing when these great big animals are coming in there and they feel like they didn't have any rights to whatever. And I said, well, you got this complete tool here. So I guess that's where this comes from in a sense. And, you know, not that you haven't been doing it or whatever have you, but I want to see how we can step it up a little bit more and what else we can come up with and talk to them and get their feedback for what they, you know, what their needs are, and if this addresses it, the ordinance that we got. So
We can work on our public information and how we
Okay.
can touch bases with the apartment complexes. We can do better.
Okay,
We can work on
and Mike, I mean, you got more experience with these animals than anybody. I mean, what do you see out here in general?
Well, the biggest problem I have is most of those complexes don't allow those dogs in
Right.
the first place.
But then they end up in
They
there.
end up in there, and the first word out of my mouth is evict them.
Right. Well,
And, you know, that is, you know, and that when I say that, you know, because they're already breaking the lease that they have. So they've broken that, then they need to evict them. End of story. Because if they get rid of that dog, they're going to sneak another one right back in. Or they're going to sneak the dog back in anyway. And when you hear that word eviction, they don't want to do that. That's one of the biggest problems I have. I'm like, yeah, and what if they do follow the College Park laws? They're still breaking the lease.
Yeah. And I guess one thing I'd like to see, the leasing agents and my managers, they just kind of feel like the backup isn't there in a sense from the city for one reason or another. And it's there, obviously it's there on paper. We got staff, city manager. One thing I'd like to see, I'd like y'all to really touch base with all of these apartment managers in terms of the major 20, you know, major large complexes, 100 units and over. Just to, and maybe this is something that the deputy manager could come out and do, and just let them, you know, face to face, the majority of our residents live in these complexes, number one. A lot of our issues in terms of police and fire are in our apartment complexes, number two. It wouldn't be a bad idea just to, you know, I touch base with mine, but more communication with them would solve a lot of our issues, I think, in the city. I just really do believe. Call me crazy, but we get a lot of trouble out of some of our communities, and seeing folks face to face might help out where we can communicate with them and we get some ideas, and we become aware of some things that we weren't aware of from hearing from those managers and leasing agents. I think that's important. I think that's very important. And so I just want to figure out something where we could connect. The dangerous dog ordinance and you coming out connecting with them is just an example. But I think that lead to some improvements in our apartment communities, which will lead to improvements in the city overall. So, city manager, you get where I'm coming from?
I always do.
All right, good. So let's see if we can come up with something. But I want you to reach out to them. A lot of managers don't know we have it. We get turnover with the managers every 6 months. We get new managers. So it's important. They don't know they have the tools. So just, you know.
If I may,
Yeah.
Councilman Karn, so I was just looking over the dangerous dog ordinance, and there should be some necessary revisions just to update it a little bit. The Dangerous Dog Act is actually now it was changed in 2014, and it looks like the ordinance was last updated in 2011.
Sounds about right.
I just
yeah.
recently did it
Yeah.
for another client. I'd be happy to update your ordinance as well, but I just wanted to let you know that. there are some updates that need to be made.
Well, let's look at it and put it on a quick workshop, and let's take a look at it, and
Well, Joe, can I jump in
Sure, I'm
here?
done. Yeah.
Since I'm the one who pushed for the dangerous dog ordinance in the first place eon ago, we don't enforce the dangerous dog ordinance. We don't. Have any dog you want. You could maybe have a lion. No, seriously. Shavela, how many dogs are registered, dangerous dogs are registered in the city of College Park?
Off the top of my head, I want to say 25-ish. The last one was in 2019. I just looked at it today.
25 are current
registered.
on their license.
No, have been registered.
No, that wasn't my question.
What was your
Today, how many dangerous dogs that qualify as dangerous dogs are licensed, have the little tag, have come to you, meet the insurance policy requirements which they're supposed to bring forward, et cetera, et cetera?
The last one was in 2019. They have not renewed, so technically none.
So the answer is zero?
Yeah.
The zero. Does everybody get that? We have a dangerous dog ordinance in the city, and I'm speaking to the people on TV. We have a dangerous dog ordinance in the city. We have no dangerous dogs in the city. We have no pit bulls, no Rottweilers, no German Shepherds, no Dobermans, and everybody says these dogs aren't bad. They're sweetie pies. I had a Doberman. Used to sit on my lap, if you can imagine that, when I watched TV in Phoenix. She was a sweetheart. But if she wanted to, she could have ripped my arm off. And the point is, it's not that the dogs are bad themselves, it's that they are capable of doing a lot of damage. And I pushed for the ordinance because we had a woman walking two little terriers on the other side of the tracks in my ward. They were attacked by two pit bulls that escaped from a backyard. And the dogs, I have pictures of them on my desk if anybody wants to see them, were in the emergency room with tubes coming out of their body where they had been bitten. Fortunately, both dogs lived. And we don't enforce it. So if we see a dog, I'll ask you, if you find a stray pit bull on the street and he doesn't have a license, what do you do with him?
Goes to Fulton County.
Take him to Fulton County. If that dog attacks somebody and bites their child, what happens with insurance? What happens if they don't have insurance? The parents of the child, if the child's still alive, get to pay the medical bills because the person who has the dog didn't follow the city requirements and didn't have insurance. And I'm just picking on pit bulls, but it's German Shepherd. It's any large dog. We tried to identify several breeds, and I got a lot of static for that. I'll probably get a lot of static tomorrow for this. But bottom line is, if we're not going to enforce a law, why even have it on the books? You know, you check the box and say, well, we have a dangerous dog ordinance, but we don't really, because nobody enforces it. Nobody wants to enforce it for whatever reason. And so why even have it on the books? Why does Chavela have to expend money every year to buy tags for dogs that nobody ever signs up for? So, you know, I've got a real problem with that. And I hate procedures that make us feel good. Because we say, oh, we wrote an ordinance that did that, but it's totally unenforceable.
And understanding the dynamics of our city, we're not like other cities. If you're 75% rental, you're going to have different dynamics that require again, in my opinion, adequate staffing, adequate pay, and we've got unique needs that are unique and particular to College Park to make College Park better. Can you handle all the dangerous dogs in the community? Well, I dare not assume to have the objective wisdom to make that determination for you, but it's a whole heck of a lot more of them. You know, even when she mentioned 25, which it's not 25, I said, well, that could be one apartment complex. Maybe there's 25 in one. But there are a lot of them around here, and I'm not against dogs. I had a great little dog growing up. But I just, you know, we're not like the average city, and we need to, we can't always behave like we're the average city. And we have to, I guess we got to face the reality of our dynamics in a sense. And I guess that's a lot of what we try to do up here, at least try to do it. So in terms of staffing or resources or what you need, or, you know, if we're going to enforce this thing, I'd imagine you might need a few more nets or whatever it is you use, huh? I mean, so if we're going to do this thing, let's do it right, you know? Not that you haven't been doing a great job, but it's got to be a consensus to, you know, I talk about the sign ordinances, signs all over the place. We buy ugly house signs, signs everywhere, on telephone poles, this, that, and the other. Not just political seasons, but all the doggone time. I say it over and over again. We get a lot of company in this city, more so than the other cities. We get a lot of company here. And we can't operate like the regular city that gets, so-so, we get some visitors. We get a lot of company. We got lines at Main Street every day for lunch. We got hotels coming back up, filling up with occupancy. We've got dynamics. When we talk about our trash, our pickup, well, maybe we got to double some stuff, but maybe we're not looking at it in that sense. That's why I keep asking you all, what do you need? What do you need? Because when I drive down the street, I'm taking a look on the corners and I'm looking at, hey, maybe we need more of this, you know, unless my eyes are deceiving me. Like he said, we don't have any dangerous dogs according to that. Well, maybe we don't have any litter on the corners. I mean, what do we need? And I hope y'all get what I'm getting at. So,
May I ask a question? In regards to enforcement of this ordinance, it's been on the books for the last 11 years. How many citations have we issued in relation to this ordinance? Can anyone answer that question?
No, offhand, no.
Is it greater than 10?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it greater than 50?
Don't think so, no.
Okay.
Okay, so less than 5 a year.
And it's a case on case, you know, if somebody, he's got this, you know, it goes like that.
I'm sorry,
It's more like case on case. I mean, you know, if you have a pit and I go to your house, you know, I inform you, you've got to cover this off, this is what you got to do, you know, this. You know, I just don't randomly go to houses and all do searches and stuff like that. And, you know, it's case on case.
Yeah, I don't think with one animal control officer we can ever do that. You know, Anton does a good job. He is on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And he is responsible for the care of those animals until we can get them to Fulton County. He has to feed, water them, he cleans up their waste. That's a lot for one person.
and Melissa, let me say this. This is not on y'all. Y'all are doing a great job. It's not on you all. It's just a sense of not getting the direction, in a sense. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. Some things, sometimes we will overlook stuff. I overlook stuff all the time, and we got to look at it. And one thing about having diversity up on the council, Ambrose is looking over there in that corner and looking at that. Meanwhile, I'm over here looking at this, and it's not a bad thing. And I'm asking questions over here about this corner. And that's how we raise the bar a little bit in the city. So, again, what do we need? Do we have enough staffing? Do we have enough litter pickup? Do we need a couple more? Do we need another animal control person? I don't mind spending the money. People hired us to provide the services for this city, to keep this city in good shape. And that's all we're talking about up here. So we're not, again, you guys are doing the job. I'm talking about direction here. I'm talking about us. So I just want y'all to, we're not bashing y'all. I guess we're bashing ourselves, what we're not doing.
Yeah.
Councilman Corn, I have a comment to make. Oh, if you don't mind. You know, I was called 2 weeks ago about a pit bull on White City Road, and I spoke to you specifically that the caller felt that the dog was roaming safely in the yard, but that a person had moved in across the street with some kids. And you and I talked about it, and then I followed up, Melissa, like 3 times, and I never heard back. My question is, what can elected officials expect in terms of a follow-up when we at least call you about a dangerous dog? Because I don't know what even the status is. What?
Like you informed me, the dog did pass away, didn't it?
No, the owner passed away.
Oh, the owner. Oh, okay.
The dog is still running around the yard.
Okay. Okay, I misunderstood then. I thought you said the dog died. Okay.
No, see, that's why I'm asking, what is the procedure for communicating with you all?
So, I mean, he's the animal control officer. You can call him. He has a city cell phone. And if you're not able to reach Antal in the event that he's under, like, trying to catch up the dog, currently he won't pick up because it could be dangerous for him.
Yeah.
We will follow up with you.
Okay, but the dog is living, the owner died, and they called me and asked me about the dog. What are we gonna do about the dog?
Well, he's whoever, owns that house now, or was ever responsible for the owner is responsible for the dog. They kind of take that over as.
Sure. Okay.
All right. Appreciate your efforts. Thank you very much. City Attorney's report.
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
City Manager's report.
I want to remind everybody of the hiring event that's going to take place on Saturday. We have all of our positions most of them are posted. If you have residents, we've posted posters in all of the apartment complexes. We've used our distribution mechanism that we've set up to make sure we've reached as many folk as we can. But if you have residents who are in need of employment, they should come out and be ready to be interviewed for some of the positions. Second thing, I want to congratulate Councilmember Karn and Councilmember Gay for a very well done swearing-in ceremony that took place on Saturday. Want to acknowledge the Lady Ballers. They were 1-1 on Sunday. Great job. And we have lots of work to do. I hope that council will join the team as we continue to work through the budget process and get to the point where we as a team take a victory lap. You all deserve it, and so do we. So I look forward to us coming to closure on this process. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the report of Mayor and Council. Councilman Clay.
Okay. City Manager.
Yes, sir.
I gave you a heads up that I was going to want to talk about tonight during my report anyhow, where we were on the problems we had a week or two ago with Barrett Park and the fact that we didn't have apparently a park ranger there. We had one pavilion, one renter had a pavilion with a party of 30 people, I think, and another one had 40 people. And I was wondering why there were cars parked on the grass at the park. We have a requirement that the renter, the person who signed up for the park, be there. And were they there? Did the park rangers, if there was a park ranger there, did they know that they were there? And if not, why not? And so I sent a bunch of questions, but that's the synopsis of them. So what's the answer?
Park Rangers? No, you're fine. You are fine.
I'm sorry, Councilman Clay. Repeat the question.
I sent you a bunch of questions on the Barrett Park, and I know you were out last week. But presumably you've seen them. I tipped off the city manager that it was going to be in my report that I was going to bring this up since I hadn't gotten an answer yet. And I'm not yelling at you for not giving me an answer yet, but I do need an answer. So what's going on with the park rangers? Is my park the only park that doesn't have a park ranger? Or do I have a park ranger and they just weren't there, or were they?
No, I'll explain what happened. We received the park rangers this fiscal year.
I'm sorry, could you talk into the mic?
This fiscal year, we received the park rangers, and we posted the positions. We offered and provided offer letters to 4 people. Those 3 of them did not show up for their drug test, and 1 of them didn't even respond. So it wasn't for lack of trying. So what we did, we have 1 park ranger currently, and we've been supplementing the park maintenance with public works, building and ground staff, and other divisions like stormwater and highways and streets. So you may not have anyone, we have them situated at every park, but we're using our current public works staff until we can get the park rangers hired.
So was somebody at Barrett Park on that day?
I have to make for certain, but it should have been. We've designated staff, and we have them in groups of 2s in public works.
Do they wear any kind of identification that shows that?
Everybody should have their public works city uniform on.
Okay, well, I was looking for a park ranger, and there were a lot of people there, so I don't know whether.
All the parks should be manned. That was the agreement with the building and ground superintendent.
So are they checking to see that the renter is there?
Yes. So we had a meeting with Michelle and discuss some of the rules and regulations and things like that. So I think we have an understanding of that. But the issue is just not for lack of trying. Just we had an issue with getting them in the door. But we are supplementing with public works staff. Even on the weekends, we have someone attending that. And they turn in a form of showing us whether they picked up the trash, if they had any issues. We also will be meeting with the police department. When I was out, there were several emails going around about who to anticipate and expect. So what I'll do moving forward is once a week send out a list of who will be attending those parks until we can get the park rangers on staff.
Right, that's what we used to do, and I know you've started it again. Detroit has been sending it out. But we had an incident at the park several years ago. I don't want to rehash that. You want to rehash it?
I'm not aware of the incident, but
We had a shooting in the vicinity of Barrett Park, 5 or 6 years ago. I watched people on the camera there fleeing in panic across Barrett Park. Okay? And we have put in place procedures to keep an eye when there's a requirement if you have a group of people there that sufficiently large that you're supposed to have, I believe, some sort of, at least the renter there, and if not, possibly police keep an eye on it or what have you. And I wasn't planning to go into this tonight, but since you guys want to go into it, that's okay. So I'm concerned when there are groups of 30 and 40 people in the park, when there are cars parked on the grass, which they're not supposed to obviously be doing there, and the fact that there are cars parked all over the street, well, that's to be expected. It's a park, and if you're going to have a group there, that's fine. And if you live near the park, you're going to have to expect that some days there will be a bunch of people there. But the fact that there's no supervision there bothers me a great deal. And I would have thought that perhaps even the police, if they're patrolling in the area and they see cars parked on the grass in the park, that perhaps they would have intervened. So I'm not a happy camper. We got to do better.
Okay, I know, like I said, from the schedule, there were people assigned to all of the parks. The day in question, I can verify and check to make sure,
And if not, I can definitely show you the schedule that we have laid out for the parks for your comfort levels by tomorrow. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
We just got, I know there's a problem hiring people, but we either have to, if we're not gonna have some kind of supervision at the park, watching over the parks, especially when you have a significant crowd of people there, then we've gotta limit the crowd of people in the park. You know, we can't have a facility and not care about the safety of people in that situation. I was there, I walked through the park, walked by it. No problem, everything was fine. But there are a lot of crazy things going on these days, and I want to keep it down. So either we properly supervise the park, or we limit the usage of the park. You just don't allow people to sign up in those numbers or whatever. I don't know. I don't know the solution. That's up to you guys to work it out. All I can tell you is I don't want a safety issue in any of our parks, but particularly in my park. That's all I had. Oh, I have other things, but that's all I had. That's the end of this rant.
I hear you.
Okay, the other thing I had, I actually had good news, believe it or not. A couple of weeks ago, I expressed a lot of concern about some information I had in one of my FAA committee meetings. They had talked about drone delivery vehicles and so forth, and how noisy it was and so forth. And I said, we've got to address that. Well, the good news I heard today, I've been sitting in, and Councilman Gay would remember this, the UC Davis noise meeting. I sat in on that by Zoom, obviously, or it's in California. Unfortunately, the best parts of the meeting conflicted due to the time shift with council meeting tonight, so I missed out on that. But there was some really good discussion today about air taxis. And they are going to have, by the year 2024, a company by the name of Joby will have a 5-person air taxi, one pilot and 4 people riding in it, with very good sound levels. And that's good news because it's going to cover the whole metro area. We will all be impacted by it. So that's the good news. We do need to keep an eye on it. There's a lot of discussion today about how what you can do as a city to regulate this, even though the federal regulation preempts a lot of things. I captured the slides. Hopefully they're going to be made available, but I was able to do a screen capture of the slides, and I may end up sharing that, a couple of the videos and whatever. I may do it at my ward meeting, or if we want to have some discussion about it sometime, we can do that. But a lot of good material, and it's something we're going to have to get on top of, because basically what they're going to be doing is replacing ground taxis with air taxis, if you want to think about it that way. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Councilman Carn?
Just a couple things. I guess we all had a lot to say tonight. Guess everybody's got a lot on their minds. And again, it's a good thing. That's how you get to progress. So I'm not upset about it. The 6 West development, Road Street, I asked to be put with the GM on the road work or whoever again to get that explanation and walk through in terms of Road Street. So I'm still waiting on that. If we can make that happen sometime this week, that'd be great. I'm seeing they're down there and getting some work done, so I'm glad to see that. So much is contingent upon Road Street getting completed and finished. A lot of these outfits aren't closing deals unless that road is done. I don't think it'd be a bad idea to have the contractor come in here and give us some updated timetables in terms of progress, because depending on how fast they get that road done, there's a lot of money on the line. So maybe the next meeting or the meeting after that, I'd like to have them come in here and give us a schedule where they're at, how the progress is going, what can we do to help them, how can they expedite it and speed it up. The flock safety systems. Well, most residents aren't even aware of what that is. I talked to Don Chappelle about that, and Chief, I know we talked about it at one point or another. There's a lot of good things and controversial things with that. I think it's technology that's inevitable. Obviously, we got it in our community, and there are hundreds in all of the other cities. And there are literally tens of thousands of them all over Metro Atlanta. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I want to delve a little bit more into it. And Ambrose, I think I mentioned this to you at one point, just briefly about it. Mike Laycock, he's our liaison with Flock, and it's a Metro Atlanta-based company and outfit. But we've got, I think, a little 26 cameras right now, 26 of those systems in. They're going to new phases with this stuff, and I want to see collectively the other things that we can do with this technology that we have, because it's so new. And I talked to Don Chappelle about figuring out, I want to go up there, and some of us to go up there and just see what else we can do with this stuff, and what you know, this is it's really some groundbreaking stuff, and they probably have some suggestions on maximizing this stuff that, to be quite frankly, we've never thought of necessarily. So I want to try to figure out. I know I'd like to go, and obviously I figure. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I want to do that with Laycock, Mr. Laycock, who's our point person with Flock Safety. Great swearing in event. I called Mercedes to thank her for everything going very well at the convention center. It was really nice. I called her. She was on vacation though, and it's funny. She said that she was watching and monitoring things on vacation, and I just said, wow, we got great employees. We got great employees, and I worry about staffing. I worry about, first, I want staff to know that I'm fighting for y'all. I am. But at the same time, I got expectations as well, and if they're not met, I may be fighting with y'all. So, but I hear some needs here, I hear that there are not enough folks to watch the parks. I hear that there are not enough folks to patrol the streets. I hear that there are not enough folks to cover the heavy litter intersections daily. And these are some things I think need to be handled daily. And we hear this stuff. The staff that we have is doing what they can with the staff they're given and the budgetary constraints they have. We need more. We got some growing to do, and we need a little more latitude in terms of staffing, budgeting, and what we need to do what we want to do in order to go where we're trying to go. So, city manager, we gotta, we're raising the bar. We're raising the bar. Again, I keep saying it over and over again. We did this budget, and I don't think there's enough in this budget to cover the needs of this city. I'm just gonna say it. I think it's a good budget, and we appreciate the hard work that we did on the budget. We appreciate staff, and I'm not saying staff is not enough. I'm saying we're not providing enough, and we got to make some decisions. Are we going to grow and do this thing the right way, or are we going to manage this city on the cheap? The upcoming graduations, I do have some concern about that, and I have spoken to Mercedes about that, city manager. We have about 7 or 8 large, major graduations coming up at the GICC and or Gateway Arena coming up here in May. We've never had that many graduations before rolling in here. I'm glad to see we're getting the business. My worry is this, the same worry we've had when we would have 1 or 2 graduations in a year. We got a lot of the great parents, hundreds of them coming from all of the South County area, East Point, Hapeville, South Fulton, Fairburn, Palmetto, Chat Hills, you name it, they're coming in here. A lot of them for the first time are going to see this center, see this complex, see the Gateway Center, obviously. Some of the worries I've gotten and complaints I've gotten before have been after the event is over, the flow of traffic, getting enough help out there to get people out of there so they're not traffic jams. Obviously, we absolutely cannot afford to have a car break-in, those type of incidents when you have that kind of a public front-facing event. The convention center is our crown jewel. We got a lot of company coming in here, and these are not out-of-towners. That's why it's a little bit different for me. These are the local folks, the local prominent parents. We got prominent speakers coming in here, and I know we're short-staffed, but city manager, I want us to do what we can. Okay, well, we may not have enough officers or whatever. Well, hey, let's get some Parks and Rec folks or Public Works. If we can help move the traffic a little faster so the flow's better or whatever we need to do. I want us to make a very good showing to make sure that folks' first visit to that area is not going to want to be their last visit. So that's just important because it's local folks. Not that visitors aren't important, but these folks will talk about you for perpetuity if there's an issue, an incident that goes on out there. So I want us to just be cognizant of that. Public Works, I'm glad to see the paving starting over on Frontage Road, and I'm assuming you're getting going on other places. You guys are doing a great job. Again, I'm fighting for all of our staff. I want to make sure you got what you need. I want to make sure you have what you need. I'm glad to see you tackling that first. One of the things I do want to try to do, and Mayor, you may be able to help us out with this, we got to reach back out to MARTA once we get that right, to get the bus routed back along Frontage Road as it used to be. The reason why it wasn't routed that way is because that road was in such bad shape with the underlayment and such that MARTA stopped coming that way. Also, the bridge issue with the weight issue, but we got that fixed. We pushed through GDOT, and I pushed through as commissioner to make sure that got back on the rails, with making sure that bridge got finished. But we need to reach out to MARTA once that's done and see if we can get that route back along that corridor where it would come down and turn at the bridge right coming out to Camp Creek Parkway and continuing its trek. The reason being, it's so dangerous for residents to have to risk their lives walking across Camp Creek to where the parking spot is to catch the bus, as opposed to when it used to come right there in the Frontage Road area right there and pick up at the corner of the three prominent apartment complexes there. So obviously we want to get back to that, and once we get that road back up in shape, we want to put that request letter in to see if we can get MARTA back for our citizens the way we had it before. Last thing, Ken, I want to know what do you need for Virginia and Lee? I mean, what do you need for that? I'm sure you're going to speak to that. Whatever you need for that, let's get what the heck you need for that and get it fixed.
I was going to bring that up. I've talked with the deputy chief, and I don't know if we need to vote on it tonight, or we can bring it up at the next agenda, and see how much a light is. Hugh, I don't know how much, do you know how much it would cost to put a light on there, ballpark, stoplight?
Well, whatever it costs.
We're working on that, guys. As a
out.
team, police and public works, we're all working on that.
Okay.
We're gonna come up with the solution.
And Ken, if it's something you want to vote on, we can vote on just about whatever we want to up here. Last time I checked.
We should bring you a plan.
Yeah.
We should bring you a plan, because I don't know what you would be voting on.
We just need to get that done before somebody gets killed right there.
It's a priority.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing I got, I don't think I've ever seen a display like this before with any particular department. I just want to say it speaks volumes. And I understand when I was county commissioner that this body decided to abdicate their responsibility of selecting department heads for the city, and I guess there's only one problem with that now at this point. I don't think we can abdicate our accountability to the residents if we make the wrong choice. Or furthermore, no choice, ladies and gentlemen. I, for one, am very concerned about department heads and what we're gonna be doing. City manager, obviously, you know, they establish where you have the final decision on this kind of stuff. But when it comes to police chief, economic development director, we got some major department decisions to make. And I, for one, want to be involved in one way or another very, very intimately in terms of how we select what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be doing it. And in the end, I guess that's going to be your decision, but I want us to figure out something where this whole body is involved one way or another. But I was very pleased to see staff unifying like that. I had never seen that before. And obviously it couldn't be anything but a good thing, regardless about how you feel about the situation. So that's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Allen?
First of all, let me just say they had a memorial service for Mary Sheffield at the auditorium the other day, and I, for one, are going to miss seeing her come up to the podium and tell us exactly how she feels. It was a very good ceremony, and I'm going to miss her. Second of all, swearing in program was very good. It was handled graciously, and really appreciate State Representative Schofield for being there. So that was nice. I don't know if you all missed it or not, but Sunday afternoon, the bicyclists, I'm sure the fire chief saw it, they had people from 33 states here in College Park, Georgia, racing their bicycles from 9 o'clock in the morning till about 5 o'clock at night. They had people from 13 different countries here. So DMO did a great job of bringing these people in. Athens has had a twilight bike riot over there for 20 years, and we had more people here in College Park after 4 or 5 years than they had in their 20 years. Every professional cycling team in the United States had a representative here in College Park racing. And if you think you can ride a bike fast, they were going 45 miles an hour on a bike, and it took them a minute and a half to make it through that one loop. They were flying. But hats off to AT and her group for doing the program. Had a note about light on Lee in Virginia. Again, you all have got that under control. The budget, I just want to thank all the department heads. It's a lot of time y'all put into it. I know the book is very, very thick. Y'all took a lot into consideration. You cut things you could have used this year, but we needed to get things under control, and we'll be taking looks at those as we go along. But thank all the department heads and the people that helped out. It was great, a great job by each one of you. The last thing, early voting. You can vote at the library right next door, so be sure to get out and vote. There's a lot of issues, a lot of people running. If you haven't voted early, get out and vote. And that's all I had.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Councilman Gay?
Yes, I just have a few items. The first one is first of all, want to give congratulations to the senior exemption bill for being passed. A lot of people, a lot of legislators worked hard, but it started right here on this council with a vote by our mayor and council member Clay. And they voted for the exemption to move to the further on in the process. And it was William Bodie sponsored it, and then I understand Nan Orrick got it to the governor, and the governor signed it. And that's an amazing thing. Not only because it doesn't even represent, I was told by Jackson Myers. Jackson Myers and our lobbyist firm. They did an amazing job, and they also communicated. But I was told that it's not really a lot of money, but it's the principle that there may actually be seniors who can save their homes in the event that they can't pay their property tax from being levied, and pass those homes on to their families. So there's an election in November, and it's going to be on the ballot, and all I ask for the city to do is to educate the community, not so much to influence the voters to vote yes or no, but to just educate the facts. I know my mama would be proud of me because she cared a lot about seniors and when they get old, paying their bills. The next thing I have is a little bit of recommendation about the parks. You know, to those of you who are new, our parks can get very active, and especially Phillips Park. But we have good success. I mean, the people, they self-manage themselves. My wife recommended that the police officers actually walk. Right now they're parking. I talked to Deputy Chief McQuarrie. They're actually parking there, but if they got out and walked, it could make a difference. I don't know if they can legally get out and walk, but it would make a difference. Also, if you wanted to create a park ambassador, because there's a lot of people that use that park that don't live in College Park, but they kind of protect the park. So there are a lot of seniors that get into that kind of space. If we could kind of create a park ambassador, they may be willing, you could put a desk out there and sign people up. They may be willing to participate in the park. The third thing is hiring. I don't think the average person know that we're hiring park rangers. I don't think nobody know. I don't think people look at our website like you think that they do. So if you just got some small campaign signs and put park rangers hiring, I think you'll get flooded with quality people. So those are my recommendations about the park. I'd like to thank the CDBG team and the recreation director on the splash pad. We're getting close. We're getting there, and one day there's going to be water. So, but I think we do need to have a conversation about safety in terms of children being there with adults. Adults probably should not be allowed out there with those kids. They probably need to have on safety shoes. So there needs to be a conversation about safety before it opens. And I'd like to also thank Councilmember Cohen for allowing myself and my family to join him in his swearing in. It was a beautiful event, and I'd like to thank all those directors who came. You didn't have to, but you came, and we really appreciate it. As far as the comment goes, as far as the time limit, I know in Fulton County I was told by the chairman's office that elected officials have unlimited time to talk. So I would like to recommend if there are any elected officials or even any formal elected officials that have represented this council, they should have the right to talk and say whatever they need to say without any time limits. The next thing is, this is the budget. It's $140 million, and that's not one dime in this budget for social events. And that's not one dime in the sense of a festival. This is the budget. It's $140 million. You know, I found it unconscionable to think that you could have a budget for $100 million. I'm closing, but you know, there are elected officials who are sitting up here, wouldn't even be up here if it was not for events. It was those senior events. It was those trunk or treats. But these elected officials was getting it in. They was getting those votes. They put us up here. As one councilman said, we're 70% rental properties. The only way that we're going to get those people to connect with us is to engage them. And it used to be a consensus is that you don't want to engage them because it'll keep us up here. That's not my fundamentals. My fundamentals is get more people to buy in and more people bring their talents, their times, their skill sets to us. There was a lady at the swearing in, she said she worked for Proof of the Push. She says, Councilman, there's a bunch of little kids down there with these fences. She said, I wonder why we can't get our kids to be involved in those kinds of things. Because they're not exposed. It's just that simple. They right up the street. But then you got all them apartments, and them kids, there's a disconnect. So social programs work. And I read you all's CVs, and y'all have strong y'all have strong community backgrounds. We need to invest in our community. I promise you, it'll pay dividends. And the final thing is, we were talking about the public health, and that conversation brought up about public health. And, you know, I'm having a background in public health. I would like to recommend that we involve Morehouse School of Medicine. They also have the Morehouse Medical Associates, and they are actually looking for cities to partner with to talk about public health, not just for our employees, but for our community. They'll actually come into your communities, and they'll have seminars and teach us how to be healthy, how women can deal with stress, how men can deal with prostates. It's just so many so many health things that they could teach us. So I would love for us to contact Morehouse School of Medicine. They have great doctors and residents satisfying the practical part of the residency, so it's just an awesome thing. And so I think that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, sir. All right. We've kind of talked in and out on the Virginia Avenue issues. I know that there were some concerns there, and I think I've reached out to you, Madam City Manager, in regard to a couple of other locations that were concerns, as well as as I received some feedback from the community. Wanted to thank the Georgia Municipal Association for hosting the Fulton County cities to discuss the upcoming local option sales tax negotiations with Fulton County. It was a great discussion. Councilman Allen was there, as well as City Manager Tyus, and had a great opportunity to connect with all of our sister cities in Fulton County. And Councilman Clay and I were present at the Middle College Memorandum of Understanding signing between Fulton County Schools and Atlanta Tech. And so it is so exciting that that project is moving forward. We will expect to see the first class of the Middle College step foot on the campus next door in the fall of 2024. So want to thank the ATL Airport District again for all of their hard work in the Spend District event. It was fantastic. Also had the opportunity to help the Atlanta Dream kick off their season and introduce their players last week. And so if you haven't gotten your tickets for the Gateway Center and supporting the Atlanta Dream, make sure you do that as well. I do want to send condolences to the families of Mary Sheffield and Ms. Rilla Terry. Both of them had services on Saturday that I was saddened but pleased to attend, and I'm glad that the two of you had a wonderful swearing-in ceremony, but wanted to also pay tribute to both of these influential women in our community, and my condolences goes out to both of their families. Councilman Gay, I totally agree with the opportunity to reach out to the Morehouse School of Medicine. I think that's a fantastic idea. I know that they do an amazing job of community outreach, and I think it's a great opportunity for our city to partner with a nearby world-renowned facility. So I think that is just a phenomenal suggestion. And in closing, I just want to thank Ms. Tyus and the entire staff for their hard work during this budget process, because we did not hand you something easy. And through this process, with this idea of trying to stabilize so we can grow, and giving, in the same breath, being able to give 5% raises at a minimum to every person in this city. I don't know that anybody can recall when that's happened. And it is truly exceptional that you and your team have been able to make this happen. And I'm deeply appreciative of the hours upon hours of work that we know that it took. And also to be able to find a way to budget for nearly $5 million in capital improvements. This is not something that you snap your finger and it happens. And we recognize the hard work of the dedicated professionals that come in, day out, to build the community that we deserve. So, having said that, we need to approve some executive session minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. We are adjourned at 10:22.